How's it going, everybody? It's Adam here from the good ship, the Lucky Jack, and there's an interesting story today from the Telegraph. Drivers are being taxed twice every time they fill up. This madness must end, says Ben Wilkinson, head of personal finance. Fuel duty has been cut, but we're still paying far too much in tax. This is 9th of June. Here we have Rishi Sunak, Chancellor of the Exchequer of the UK. He is in charge of essentially all the money in the whole of the UK. All the money from taxation goes to his department. He's the head of the department. It's a multi-trillion pound operation, and he runs the entire economy of the UK. He says how much people are going to pay tax, what they're going to pay tax on, what the limits are. He's essentially head of finance of the UK, Rishi Sunak. And here he is driving supposedly a Kia Rio, which frankly I find ludicrous. The new extortionate cost of filling up a car is made all the more galling by this government's contentment to cash in on the soaring prices faced by Middle England. The cost of filling up the average motor car hit £100 today. That's a 55-litre tank, exposing the Chancellor's 5p fuel duty cut as perhaps one of the most ineffectual tax concessions in recent memory. On paper, taxes on petrol and diesel are actually down, but drivers are handing over millions more to the Treasury, of which Rishi Sunak is in charge of, because price rises have been so extreme. Now, even after the fuel duty cut, motorists are paying nearly £2 more in tax every time they fill up per litre. £2 more in tax every time they fill up, not per litre, compared to a year ago. What's more, motorists are not only taxed close to 53p on every litre, but also VAT is levied on top of that. So we're being taxed on our taxes. So what makes up the price of petrol per litre? Well, the wholesale petrol price is 45%, but the fuel duty, which is a tax, is 29%, and VAT, which is also a tax, is 17%. The bio content is another 7%. The retail margin is only 2%. That's the actual petrol station. And delivery in the oil company only gets 1%. So this tax and that tax is taken by the government, and the actual petrol company, they only get 1%, while the petrol station gets 2%. This unfair tax grab on fuel is typical of Tory policy of late. The boozy antics in Downing Street during lockdown pale in comparison to the scandalous stealth tax inflicted on voters by this Conservative government. Rising taxes are now indisputably clear in black and white on our bank statements, payslips and tax returns. Before his 2019 landslide election victory, Mr Johnson spoke of his desire to cut taxes. Yeah, right. He even pledged to raise the 40% higher rate of income tax from 50 to 80,000. So if you were earning less than 50,000, you'd pay the lower rate. Once you got to 50,000, you'd start paying the 40%, and he said it would raise that limit to 80,000. So you wouldn't start paying this higher rate tax until you got to 80,000. But of course he didn't. A truly Conservative policy that would have saved 3 million middle-class households. Yet, since Mr Johnson secured the 80-seat majority, the taxman has dug deeper and deeper into our pockets. In the last financial year, the Treasury collected 718 billion in taxes. 718 billion in taxes. An increase of nearly a quarter on the year before, at a time when no one can afford anything. Mr Johnson and his Chancellor, there he is, filling up his Kia Rio. Mr Johnson and his Chancellor could perhaps be forgiven for raising taxes a little. No one could have foreseen a global pandemic that unleashed hugely increased government spending, or the war in Ukraine. But what is really maddening is the underhand and indulgent way taxpayers have been bled. The starkest example of this is the freezing of thresholds on everything from income to inheritance tax. The toxic cocktail of frozen tax allowances and high inflation is hitting households hard, while the Treasury happily cashes in on this inertia. So a breakdown of what's actually being paid in taxation on every every penny per litre, I think this is, what you're paying at the pump. Cost breakdown to fill up a 55 litre tank. So this is 55 litre tank. Cost per litre, 81.4 pence of that is the wholesale price. 12.49 is the biofuel price. The delivery in the oil company, moving it from oil rigs and tankers to the actual petrol station, well, they get 1.7p. The retailer, the person who owns the petrol station, the gas station, they get 3.38 pence. Fuel duty, they get £52p, and VAT is 30p. So this is per litre. 80p is wholesale, 12p is that, 52p is fuel duty, 30p is VAT. So all this, 83 pence per litre, is tax. Very much a similar result in diesel. Slightly greater margin for the retailer, but the end result in taxation, very similar. Costs are slightly lower. It's outrageous how much they're taxing everyone. In March, Rishi Sunak promised a series of tax cuts in his spring statement, fuel duty included. While the national insurance threshold was raised, at the same time Mr Sunak added a 1.25% levy on our incomes. We were promised that income tax would be cut by 1 pence in the pound, but not until just before the next election. On closer inspection, it became clear that these concessions did not make a jot of difference and the taxman would still be better off. And this is Rishi Sunak. What is Rishi Sunak's net worth? Chancellor's family wealth. I'm not someone who begrudges other people being wealthy, so I'm a little bit not overly worried by this, but it is extraordinary how wealthy this guy is. He is the first frontline politician to appear on the Sunday Times rich list with his wife, Exchequer Rishi, richest man in the House of Commons. How much is he actually worth? He puts Sunday Times rich list, values it at £730 million he shares between him and his wife. He used to work for Goldman Sachs. He was a hedge fund manager, set up his own hedge fund called Thelemy Partners in 2010. He runs a blind trust where a multi-million-pound fortune. He's enormously wealthy. Absolutely enormously wealthy. And this is a staged photo of him driving a Kia Rio, which I believe he's borrowed for the day, because he certainly doesn't drive that. Here's a breakdown from Canterbury Kia. Prices of a Kia Rio set you back $12,495, and luckily it's only 45.6 miles per gallon, so very fuel efficient. Very nice. So there we have Rishi Sunak and his very interesting Rio car. Not sure about that at all. So for now, Mr Johnson and Mr Sunak have been given a second chance to give the nation aspiration and prosperity. The best way to help British households is to cut taxes. The Conservatives need to commit to unfreezing thresholds and allowances to protect our pockets from rising prices. But why not go further? Inflation-proof the tax system. If inflation rises 10%, tax thresholds need to keep up. Anything else is a straightforward tax grab. And that's the situation we're facing. People are facing £400 energy bills, increasing. They're facing £200 a month just to pay for bills, just to pay for electricity. The numbers are rocketing up, and taxation is outrageous. Well, that's where we are at the moment. I'll talk to you soon.